Thank you. What a day. I was just about to say that I'm speechless, but that would have been a little bit of a problem right now, don't you think? Standing here. But I will never forget my first time attending this event. It was very special to me because it looked a little bit something like this. It was 2019, pre-pandemic, and I had just given birth to my firstborn, baby June. And I had her, I brought her along to the event. She was here the entire day with me. And I mean, look at that face. Have you ever seen anyone enjoy Tech Talk that much? She was so fucking quiet. She didn't say a thing. She's never been that quiet ever since. But I remember thinking to myself, if I ever get the chance to stand on this stage, I will be talking about two things that are very close to my heart: leadership and the ability to self-lead. So to prepare for this session, I've had around 20 conversations with peers of mine, leaders in different industries here in Sweden and abroad, and I asked them, what kind of questions are you contemplating for the future when it comes to leadership and the ability to self-lead? And I'd made sure to have 20 separate conversations because I didn't want these people to piggyback off of each other's answers. No, we don't want that. But it was interesting because even though I had these 20 conversations, the same things kept popping up. So what I'm going to be sharing with you today is 6 questions and key takeaways from those conversations. And we're starting off with, are you reconnecting with your passion and purpose? And I think today, maybe this is more important now than ever. And I think it's crucial that we start redefining what success looks like, what it means to us, what it feels like. And so how do you know? How do you know if you're aligning with your passion and purpose? Well, a friend of mine put it very nicely. She said, if your day-to-day tasks are somewhat intertwined with your passion and your purpose, then you are on the road to success. And the rationale here is very simple. These two things, they are like two eternal flames. These are the things that sort of keeps me motivated when I have shitty days, and these are the things that help me celebrate when things are flying high. But I think we need to build safe spaces and give time for and ask ourselves this question. So whenever I have kickoffs with my team, I have a one-on-one with each person, and I ask them this question. And it never fucking backfires because 50% of the people, they're like, I do this and this motivates me, and like they're started to connect the dots, and the other half, they look like this. And often it's combined with a sigh. Like, don't get me wrong, I love that face and that sigh because it means that there's plenty of room for growth, right? But when was the last time you asked yourself this question? And more importantly, did you dare to give yourself the honest answer? Next one, are you supporting lifelong learning? So the other day I was sitting on the train between Växjö and Stockholm, and I was reading SJ's Coupé magazine, and I saw a very interesting article there that was relating to this topic, and they had some interesting statistics in it. So show of hands now, how many of you think that a Swedish citizen, spends more than 10 hours per year on upskilling activities? More than 20 hours per year? More than 40 hours per year? It's 11. 11 tiny hours, according to Statistics Sweden, we spend on upskilling activities. And what does this tell us? Well, basically, as soon as we graduate, we're like, hell, I'm done. High five. And then we actually mean it. But we need to be expanding our knowledge throughout our careers. And by knowledge, I don't just mean, theoretical knowledge. I mean the soft skills, how to communicate, how to collaborate. And why is this important? Well, most of us, we do a lot of repetitive work and we think a lot of repetitive thoughts each day. Google it, you will find some very depressing statistics. I didn't even want to bring it up on a slide. But the point is, since, that's the situation, we need to actively build new pathways in our brains. So what I've done is I've made it mandatory for myself and my team to take e-learning lessons each month together and separately. And I asked them to pick topics that are way outside of their comfort zone, because that's one of the best ways to build those new pathways in your brains. So if Lisa in my team, she drilled down, we work at Viaplay, and she drilled down into this project in New York where they are flying electric helicopters from Newark and JFK into the city so the passengers don't have to take taxis and trains and whatnot. And if she could take learnings from that and apply it to what we do at Viaplay, which is what, like a streaming company? Then you can basically take a e-learning course in whatever and learn something from it, okay? Because that's a challenge as well. So make sure to do those trainings and build those new pathways in your brains. Do you balance humanity and technology? So much like chef, leaders have to sort of balance numerous ingredients of a business to make a masterful meal. And two of the most important ingredients of any business is humanity and technology. And balancing these two means that you need to sort of take technology and use it to improve the efficiency in your organization, while you're at the same time catering to the real needs of your organization. But this is difficult. And there's a typical pitfall, a mistake that a lot of companies make when they try to balance these two. Have you ever heard of the software graveyard? Someone's not. The lights are so bright here, I can't even see you. I hope someone does like this. Yeah, okay? But so the software graveyard is basically when really shitty decisions are made. And it usually goes like this. A leader comes in and says, oh, everyone's going digital. We need to go digital too. So she brings in the tech girl and she's like, what kind of solutions do we have? And she's like, here's a smorgasbord of solutions. And the leader goes, yes, we take that one. And she pours money into it and manpower, and it's an implementation processes. And then you launch, and what happens a lot of the time? People come back, your employees, they're like, I don't understand. Why do we need this? What is this for? And the worst part is, like, I'm using this, but it's actually making my work even less efficient. So those kind of softwares, they end up in the software graveyard where, you know, they don't do any good for anyone. But we can avoid this if we remind ourselves that we need to do the basic works. We need to do the basic analysis and understand, you know, how are we working today? What kind of problems do our customers have? What kind of problems do our employees have? And then we solve and we cater to those needs and not some fabricated ones. Are you flipping the hierarchy upside down? Now, this is one of my favorites. And I dare to say that you can't call yourself a top leader in the future unless you are doing this. And here's the important part. A leader's job is not to be the smartest person in the room with all the answers. No. A leader's job is to architect the game board so that as many as people as possible have the permission to come forward with the best of their experiences, knowledges, and ideas. And when you invite people to your table, you need to make sure that everyone has a strong voice. And if they don't, you need to help them establish it. So they're not just, you know, echoing what others are saying or what you are saying. You need to make sure that your people have a strong voice of their own. So flip the hierarchy upside down, empower your people, and see what happens. Are you unleashing your inner Yoda? So the Star Wars fan in here are like, yes, girl, yes, I am. But for decades, leaders, and not just leaders, all of us, we've shied away from emotions. It's almost like emotions are the enemy, poison when it comes to good decision making, when really it's the other way around. Empathy. We need to know the feelings and perspectives of others. And self-awareness. We need to know what we're good at and what we're bad at, and better yet, we need to tell others about our strengths and weaknesses. And I have a great example of how much we're craving these Yodas in our lives. So in July last year, my grandmother passed away. And I got the news right before I was about to enter into a group meeting. And you know, the good girl in me was like, I'm going to go in there, I'm going to go execute this meeting, do what I set out to do, even though I was falling apart inside. But then I was like, I heard my grandma's voice, and she was like, no. You take this opportunity now to set an example of how vulnerable and open you want your colleagues to be able to be if they end up in the same situation, if they want to. So I went in there and I told them what had happened. And I said, I'm not in my right mind right now. We need to reschedule this meeting and I'll get back to you when I'm feeling better. And sometime after this, I also wrote a chronicle about leading in grief. And it was published in Chefstidningen, one of the biggest papers for magazines for managers in Sweden. And 45,000 managers in Sweden received that chronicle in their inbox one morning. And I, of course, posted it on LinkedIn. And it was funny because I got, some comments in the open comments. They were like, "Ooh, so brave that you bring up this subject, leading in grief." And the funny thing was, a few comments, open comments, but my inbox, my private inbox, totally exploded. There were so many leaders across different industries who reached out and said, "Wow, this is so important. We need to bring this up and talk about this openly." What? Okay, so we're craving these Yodas, but no one, well, at least not many people, want to sort of let down their God publicly. And what are our politicians saying? I didn't listen to that one who was here before, but what are they saying? The big one, the leaders. They're saying, we need to make America great again. We need to make Sweden great again, like it was before. But at what cost, I ask? At the expense of women's rights, at the expense of children's rights, at the expense of our planet and our people? No. I say we need to make leaders human again, and then comes the rest. Thank you. Quite the jump now, I realize, from my previous slide. Can you do serious things without taking yourself too seriously? Now think about it. Power of humor in leadership. And the rationale here is very simple. So when you and I share a laugh, hormones are released in our brains, endorphins, dopamine, and they emulate the feeling of a runner's high or extreme joy. And it's this chemical reaction in our brains that makes us feel bonded to one another. And every time I talk about this, I get the question, so how the hell do I do this? Like, what do I do? Do I walk around the office throwing one-liners like Joey and Friends? What do I do? But I always say, no, just notice what's true. Notice what's true. Now, what does that mean? But I have a great example. So during the pandemic, I was sent home, and this was at a time that I needed to build and establish an entirely new team. So I recruited and I onboarded and I tried to make a sense of team spirit online. And it was so funny. After 2 years was actually the first time we get to see each other in real life in the office. And we're sitting there taking our first fika with bulle, coffee, and all of that. And we were sharing, stuff. And then one of the guys says, "I was at the hairdresser the other day. And my hairdresser was like, it looks good in the front, but what the fuck happened in the back, dude? What's going on here?" And he was like, "Well, it's been the pandemic. I was just sitting at home. Everyone's been looking in this small box. I've just been combing the front of my hair for the past 2 years." And then the next person started sharing, "Well, I've had my t-shirt, my shirt on in my time, but down there it's been pajamas for 2 years, man." And I mean, these sort of things, these sort of funny little things in our ordinary days, make sure to share them. Because it's a very natural way of bonding with each other, okay? Share those laughs. So those were the 6. Take a picture now. Go home, ask yourself this question, and discuss them with your managers, with your friends, with your families, with your coworkers. But before we say goodbye, I want to leave you with one final thought. As we move forward, if you ever find yourself doubting yourself, because we never do, right? No, you're wondering, should I step into my power now? Should I say yes to that job that seems a little bit intimidating, or apply for that job where I don't check all the boxes? Look around you now. You've made 2,500 new friends today. Women who are showing up authentically, women who are taking risks, women who are supporting one another, women who will be supporting you. But if these 2,500 reasons are not enough for you, if these 2,500 supporters are not enough for you, I brought two more to remind you that every time you hear them, every time you step into your power, you take action in your own life and in your own career, you're not just doing it for yourself, you're actually inspiring others to do it. And you are paving the path for coming generations of women in tech. And those generations, they're crying out loud right there in the back. Yeah, they're crying out loud. But actually, they look a little bit something like this, like the love of my life. June, come. Remember baby June? Baby June from the first slide. She's here and she's 4 now. And these are the generations that we're fighting for. So step into your power and just we'll make it happen together, okay? Thank you so much for your attention. Let's connect. And I wish you all the best. Woo! Hey! Go say hey, hey. Hey, hey. Okay.